calibration and profiling of printers is a little daunting. There are a ton of different printers on the market. Then you add in paper and ink into the equation and the variables explode. We have a lot of points in the process control and calibration chain that we need to ensure are managed correctly to make the output device consistent. Color laser printers. These printers simply have a huge amount of variation and calibration controls are limited. First, get the printer away from a window if it's currently near one. This results in excessive temperature and humidity changes throughout the course of the day. Likewise, if there's an air vent nearby, move the printer to a new location. Ideally, you'd stick it into a sealed, humidity and temperature-controlled room. I'm not kidding. You can blow on them, and the humidity will cause their behavior to change. Shake the toner cartridges periodically to ensure an even mix of toner particles. Over time, there will be a reduction in density as the toner is consumed, but you might get more even distribution by giving them a jiggle once a week. When you change the cartridges, expect a change in the printer's color behavior and the need to reprofile. Reset the settings on the printer and in the print driver to their defaults and profile in that condition first. I've come across a few absurd printers with really bad default behavior. This results in a crummy performing profile, either really poor color, plugged up shadow detail, etc. Try another color printing mode in the printer driver software. At least one printer I recently profiled from HP was so bad that I had to put it in a swap simulation mode, which drastically restricted the color saturation that could be printed, but it did finally produce a uniform enough print that it could be profiled. In its raw state, the printer couldn't be profiled. Take a trip to your safety deposit box, retrieve the manual for your printer, and go through the manual calibration sequence if it's available, regardless of whether your printer has an automatic calibration feature at startup or not. This calibration sequence is usually accessed through the onboard controls of the printer. It won't do a perfect job, but it's the best reference point we've got for printers of this type, so take the time to use this feature and plan on using it at least once a day thereafter. Inkjet printers. There are essentially two configurations of inkjet printers, those driven by the manufacturer's print driver and those driven by some kind of RIP. In the case of a RIP, they're usually treated as CMYK devices as you'd expect. However, for legacy reasons, when driven by their native driver from the manufacturer, they're treated as RGB devices. This is because operating systems didn't know what CMYK was, and the data path for printing was just RGB, and print drivers still have this legacy behavior. RGB data is sent from the application to the print driver, and the driver is responsible for whatever conversion is needed by the printer, which may not be CMYK anyway, as inkjet printers can have more inks than that these days. Process control applies to inkjet printers more than calibration and primarily involves loading the correct paper and choosing the correct driver settings. That's what makes the printer consistent. Change a variable and it's no longer consistent. For all printer types, take screenshots of all print dialog settings so these settings can be replicated. One setting may be the key setting that causes the printer to behave differently. In the next movie, let's take a look at how an inkjet printer profile is built.